The UCLA Bruins are your 2026 women's college basketball national champions. How did that happen? Welcome back to Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. If you watch the Final Four recap, you remember that I provided next to no analysis or preview in terms of the national championship game because, as you can see by my shirt and my mug here, I'm a Gamecock fan, and I didn't want to look into the game because I did not want to be discouraged in any way as I headed into Easter Sunday to watch that game. But what you really had to do, if you wanted some analysis, was to go back to my Final Four preview and take my concerns for South Carolina heading into the UConn game and just move them a game forward, because that was really what we saw Sunday. That was tough. Okay. Matter of fact, let me pull up and we'll go through the concerns heading into UConn. Can Joyce Edwards score efficiently? Is she doing the other things? She looked great against TCU. She did a fantastic job defensively against UConn yesterday. 3 for 10 from the field. She did get 11 rebounds, but wasn't the Joyce Edwards that has set the 20 plus points scored in. She scored 20 plus points in more games than anyone else in Gamecock history this season, I believe. Was not that Joyce Edwards. Raven Johnson heading into UConn. For them to beat UConn, I thought she needs to look to score when it's there. Great tournament so far. Great assist to turnover ratio. Just be that again. Wasn't that yesterday. 3 points, 1 for 7 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3. No assists in her final game at South Carolina. 2 turnovers. Medina Okot. We're going to talk about this more in depth a little bit later. Post was going to be the one possible clear advantage, I thought, going into the UConn game. Was not going to be the advantage here, which really kind of made it more important because someone had to contend with Lauren Betts. We didn't really get a group. We did not get a good Medina Okot game. I thought Agat Makir was going to have to continue her run. She had a decent game, but you didn't really feel her the way that you felt her in prior games. I thought that we were going to have a good Tessa Johnson game. She was probably the only Gamecock who looked halfway competent offensively. Then Tanaya Latson, I thought she was going to have to be aggressive, efficient, and get to the free throw line against UConn to beat them. Yesterday, UCLA, 4 points, 1 for 5 from the field, just 2 free throw attempts. The big concern that came to fruition, that has been a concern for the Gamecocks for a couple seasons now, they got off to a slow start. And you cannot afford to get off to a slow start against a team as talented as UCLA. How does this happen? Well, the main issue offensively for South Carolina that has been the case for a couple of years now is there are no consistent, there's no one who can consistently create their own shot in the half court. Joyce, to me, is better when she is getting an assist from someone or out in transition, maybe running the floor. Everyone else is better off the pass too. I mean, that it is what it is. I know the thought was that Tanaya Latson was supposed to fill that role, leading scorer in the nation last year at Florida State. She's 5'8", more of a slasher than anything else. Not really a great 3-point shooter. That's not her game. Prefers to get to the rim. Tough enough at 5'8", even tougher when South Carolina typically has Medina Okat and Joyce Edwards on the court, who prefer to operate closer to the basket. So there's going to be a lot of big bodies down there to contend with. Kind of difficult position to put Tanaya in. And you saw that when South Carolina's at their best, they're letting the game come to them offensively, and you can speed that up by rebounding defensively and getting out in transition by forcing turnovers, and get some easy fast break hoops and build confidence that way and get everybody rolling that way. Very hard to do against a talented team like UCLA, and especially there was just no real effort to rebound from the jump yesterday. Like, it was clear that rebounding was going to be a problem all day, and it was. UCLA ended up out rebounding South Carolina 49-37. And that was a closer margin than I thought it would end up being. It felt like they were like plus 14 for the entire game. You're just not going to win like that. You're just not going to win if you can't rebound the basketball. And before it even really got out of hand, I was confused as to the defensive strategy, because it looked like they were caught up in the air between shutting down Lauren Betts and stopping everyone else. And you can't do both. I wasn't a huge fan of fronting Betts in the post. UCLA, throughout the time that Lauren Betts has been there, has struggled at times at making post entry passes. It's a lost art for everybody these days. But she is so good at establishing position and holding off that defender without fouling when the defender is in front of her. If the help on the backside is not there in time, then you just have this huge margin for error to throw a lob pass over top of Medina Okat. And that's just what they were doing. I would have liked to see more zone. I mean, they did go to zone some, but UCLA, they were already hitting threes by this point, but it was somewhat effective. But that also adds to the rebounding issue. Or if you're concerned that much about Betts, then just double her off the catch. Leisure Walker, who was good yesterday, scoring early, but I would leave her on the perimeter and you just live or die with that. Or Duga Leach, when she was in the game, not one of their better three-point shooters. So I think help off of either one of those players and double Lauren Betts. She is a capable passer, but that is not as high on her list of skills. So I think forcing her to do that would have been a better option than fronting the post. And what's a shame is she did get established early, got a couple of easy buckets early, but she was not the main issue because she went out with some sort of had something caught in her throat or something. She left the game with like 2 minutes left in the first quarter. UCLA was up 6. She didn't come back until 8:40 something left in the second. And UCLA doubled the lead with her out of the game. That's when I knew, oh, this is just not going to happen today, because she is the star. She is the focal point. And you don't want anyone to get hurt or whatever and be out the game. But if she is out the game, then whenever she comes back in, My thinking is, okay, South Carolina needs to be up by the time she comes back. When the lead had grown to the point that it's double digits, we can, for all intents and purposes, we can start to go home now. Okay, enjoy the rest of your Easter. Don't put yourself through all this misery. I did, but that was basically a wrap. Medina Okat, I know she started playing basketball late. Had the 1 year of high level D1 hoops at Mississippi State last season. Has been effective for the most part here, but we needed a performance out of her that would have been outside of really what we have seen from her to this point, which feels unfair, but it is what it is. They were trapping South Carolina off of dribble handoffs in the corner early. That was leaving Medina open for a little elbow jump shot. They also, when Betts was in the game early, had her sagging off of Medina into the paint when Medina had the ball outside the three-point line. Her jump shot is a nice looking jump shot. She has hit threes before. Like, she's capable of making threes. She has the tools to make three-point shots. She has the tools to make elbow jumpers. It's not like Alyssa Thomas, who doesn't have anything. She has no shoulders. So you're asking Alyssa Thomas to make threes, or a player with a broke jumper. I don't think she has a broke jumper. I think she has a nice jump shot. But it doesn't matter how good your form is if you are not confident and comfortable shooting it. It's like, if for whatever reason, yesterday, Easter Sunday, you are tasked for the first time ever with making the mac and cheese. We have given you the mac and cheese recipe. We have all the ingredients. You are capable of reading and putting the ingredients together and making mac and cheese, but it's your first time making it. You're on a big stage. This is Easter Sunday, okay? Jesus has risen and unleashed a giant clothes-wearing rabbit onto the world. It's a lot of pressure to make mac and cheese for the first time. You can do it, technically, but you're not comfortable doing it. So maybe you burn the roux. Maybe you set the temperature wrong. Something could go wrong just because it's not like your grandmother. She's made it for years. She can do it. She doesn't even need to look at the recipe. That's kind of the feeling I had watching Medina Okat shoot jump shots yesterday, because she would shoot them, but she was shooting them because she was open, not because she thought she was going to make them. That almost never works. But what can you do? That was going to be an extraordinary performance if she knocked them down. Again, like I said, Tessa was really the only one who had something going on offense at all. So it's not like you can lay this whole performance at the feet of any one player on South Carolina. Just couldn't. The first half was terrible offensively. And so, you have a small window. Let me pull up the box score. You have a small window in the third quarter to make something happen. Because it was 36-23 at halftime, UCLA. We're either going to get out of hand quickly or we're going to get back into it quickly. But we're going to know very early on what we're doing. And unfortunately, it went to the get out of hand quickly. Started off As you can see here, Medina Okat hit a layup to open up the third quarter. Fantastic. But UCLA outscored South Carolina 25-9 in that third quarter. And I just don't think you can be nearly tripled up in a single quarter and win a national championship game. And from there, it was just waiting for the clock to reach zero. And it did. UCLA got their first NCAA championship. They won an AIAW title in 78, led by Ann Myers Drysdale, the widow of former Dodgers pitcher Don Drysdale. Let me make sure. I always confirm when I say people are dead that they're dead. Yes, he died in 1993. I don't want to kill someone unintentionally. So, even with everything that I said and all the adjustments, the way this UCLA team came out, did South Carolina lose the game or did UCLA win the game? It's a favorite sports media topic. UCLA won that game. A lot of questions from me personally going into the tournament about UCLA's grit, their toughness, Corey Close's ability to coach against these other tier 1 coaches. They answered all of them. They are champions for a reason. And you look at this balanced performance. They basically went with a 6-player rotation. Every one of those 6 players scored at least 9 points. Gabriela Jaquez led the way, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. They were hitting the offensive glass, defensive glass. They were locking people up. Obviously, there was not a facet of the game you could point to and say, could have been better here. They just were firing on all cylinders. It was just the second year in a row that South Carolina has run into a buzzsaw, and I can't help but think that somehow this is Shane Beamer's fault. But no, just incredible performance from the Bruins. I don't even know what more you can say about it. I'm still trying to absorb it myself. There was just never a point in the game where they felt like they were not in complete control. There were a couple of points where I said South Carolina played zone, and a couple of times where they ran a full court press for some brief stretches. They were never able to put more than the smallest of dents into what UCLA was doing. Top to bottom, all around great performance from everyone on UCLA. Lauren Betts to go out on top as a senior after all she's been through, transferring, all kind of adversity, questions about her. It kind of felt like people got tired of Lauren Betts because she was in college for so long. And so then they just kind of trying to start trying to pick apart her game and find different flaws and whatever. I'm going to be real. You should not make draft decisions based on a single game, no matter if it's the national championship game, whatever. But it did confirm for me how good of a player Betts is. This whole tournament run confirmed for me that everyone who's trying to drop her in the draft, perfect. You have to, she's 6'7". The question with bigs, is height the advantage or is it an advantage? Are you good simply because you are bigger than other people? Or are you a highly skilled player? Can you run the court? Are you imposing your size on your opponents? How do you look when you post up? Do you have good footwork? Do you like Lauren Betts has everything you would want in a 6'7" player. I mean, how many players with her skill set at her size exist on earth? To me, if the answer is what is it 10? Are there 10 players who are 6'7" who can do everything that Lauren Betts can do? If the answer is less than 10, then I have to take Lauren Betts as high as possible, and we'll figure it out from there. Because I would imagine, at the very worst, she is going to be a highly impactful defender in the W. I mean, if you saw how she got down the court against Texas at the end of the game to block Madison Booker's shot, wow. How many players her size can do that? So just such a highly skilled player. I'm looking forward to seeing what she does at the W. In the W, they have all those seniors graduating. I expect to see, I mean, which one would you not draft? Like you've got, let's pull up the roster. Why is that my thinking noise? As I've switched to this more Yap-friendly format, I've got several. I'm trying to switch my my tab that I'm sharing noises, and I'm trying to ponder. And it's just very strange to me to pick up on these things. I'm sorry. We'll get better. So, Betts, Kiki Rice, Gabriela Jaquez, Gianna Neepkins, Angela Dugalich, Charlize Leisure Walker. I cannot imagine any of those players will not be in training camp here in a couple of weeks. Betts, clearly the top prospect. I've seen a lot of Kiki Rice in the first round in these mock drafts. Gabriela Jaquez in the first round in these mock drafts. I could even see Neepkins up there too. And the draft is going to be next Monday, which I'm sure I will be talking about. Matter of fact, let me pull up a mock draft. We'll see what the people are saying. All right, I'm pulling it up, and I'm trying not to make a noise as I pull it up. Let's see what happens. So far, so good. Okay. Share this tab instead. Perfect. So nobody has updated. I'm on acrossthetimeline.com. They put together all of the mock drafts that everyone has put out so far. No one has put out a mock draft since before the tournament, according to Across the Timeline. And in this particular mock draft, so I'm seeing Betts, Rice, Neepkins, and Jaquez pretty much across the board as going in the first round. So I think that is fairly accurate. Let's see if we can find what ESPN has put out recently, even though they did us very dirty with their expansion draft coverage. I don't know what that was about. No, nothing since February 13th. So, yeah, I would expect, I would expect all four of those players to go in the first round, and I would expect every player in UCLA's rotation who has graduated to be in a WNBA training camp this season. I would not be shocked to see them all make rosters too. So, incredibly talented team. A historic moment for them to win the national title. What are the takeaways, the good takeaways? If you're a Gamecock fan like me, maybe you're a little bummed today, even though another spectacular season. You lose Raven Johnson, all-time Gamecock champion. I mean, 5 Final Fours, because she was on that team as a freshman. Couple of national championships. Lose her, that's obviously going to be tough. Feels like she's been there forever. You got Maddie McDaniel. But how do you feel good about this season, other than the fact that you were the second best team in the country? So you should just naturally feel good. What were some good takeaways heading into next season? We saw some flashes of a more complete Joyce Edwards. And like, if we see her defend and rebound the way that she did against UConn and TCU, and hit mid-range jumpers the way she did against TCU, and move the ball and get her offense within the flow of the offense, if we see her do that more consistently next year, they're already going to be back top 5 team in the country. That's really going to boost their national title chances. I mean, the tools are there for her. She is a great player, obviously, but we need to kind of round out that whole package. We've seen flashes finally, because that was the question throughout the season. Well, can she even do this? Can she be this kind of player? She did not play like you see on the men's side, some of these great players will go to like a basketball powerhouse and they'll clean up some of these habits. I think there are pluses and minuses for staying and going to your local public high school or going to one of those powerhouses. There's good and bad on both sides. Joyce went to her high school in her area, and I think being so much better than everyone else on your team and who you're playing against, you can develop some bad habits as a result of that. I think we're seeing her work through those bad habits. And the fact that she was able to work through them in the NCAA tournament against teams like TCU and UConn, huge plus. So I'm going to be on the lookout for that. Agat McKeer. I have talked about her every episode because she's been so impressive. Next year, she should be a significant contributor for the entire season. She played at least 23 minutes in every tournament game. She scored in double figures in every tournament game. That was a huge leap to make. That was a leap that we saw Malaysia Fulwiley and Tessa Johnson make their freshman seasons. I think with her tools and her making that leap in the tournament, we're going to see a lot of Agat McKeer next year, and it's going to be fantastic. So I'm excited about that. Another freshman who showed up late, Alicia Turnabes. She did not play against UConn, I don't believe, but against UCLA, even with everything going the way that it was going, she wasn't lighting it up where you're like, wow, look at her numbers. She came over early. She's been with the team since January. She did not have an offseason with them, did not have a ton of practice time with them. Playing on the biggest stage in the national title game against Lauren Betts, who should be a top 5 pick in this year's WNBA draft. She looked confident beyond her years. And to me, that you have to have that base level of confidence. From that, you can build so much on it. She's got the tool. She's 6'7" like Betts. She can dunk. She can run the floor. Now, you got that confidence as your base level. You get an off season in Molly Bonetti's strength and conditioning program. You get an off season learning the system and practicing with your teammates and getting comfortable with them. I know Chloe Kitts, she came over early, but if you remember her season when she came over early, I think she came in mid-December. She wasn't really playing a ton. She'd get out there at the end of blowouts. I don't think she really played deep in the tournament that year either, but that was crucial for her development. She'll be back next year too. But Turnaby's played in much higher stakes situations than Kitts did, and Turnaby's looked like she was able to hold her own way better than I thought she'd be able to at this point. So we're looking forward to that. Also, again, Kitts coming. That is tough. Kitts coming back, and maybe the other. I don't know. Kitts coming back and Watkins coming back. I'm still unclear about if Watkins is coming back, but both of them coming back, and got Jersey Robinson coming in, and always get recruits in the transfer portal. For the NCAA basketball landscape as a whole, I want to see, first of all, how does UCLA reload? They're losing all of these players. What does Corey Close have in the chamber waiting to come in? Not only just the high school recruits, which we know she'll get, but again, transfer portal. How is UConn going to look post AZ Fudd? Who steps into that number 2 spot? Is it Quinones? Is it one of their recruits they've got coming in? I don't know what they're doing in the transfer portal themselves. Speaking of the transfer portal, we don't have any real answer yet, but we got Audie Crooks, Jada Williams, all of Iowa State, basically all of Tennessee, Talasia Cooper as well, Addie Brown from Iowa State, Zam Jones from North Carolina State. I think I just saw Tilda Trieger from NC State in the portal too. Where do they go? Who are they going to be helping out next season? These are huge, big names, huge contributors. I mean, Crooks, 25 points a game. Someone's program could be changed by one of these names. Whose is it? And the big one for me, the return of Juju Watkins. We've had a whole season with no Juju Watkins. It's been very tough. How is she going to look? They've got Jazzy Davidson there as well. What has Lindsey Gottlieb come up with as far as getting her easy buckets? And we just get to see her play again. That's awesome. So that's all I've got for today. I'm going to keep track of portal news, the draft. Free agency starts Saturday. They just kind of dropped that on our heads all of a sudden last night. So we're going to have a ton of player movement. Already have seen Angel Reese get traded to the Atlanta Dream today. So I think that's a move I've got to think about. But my initial thought is like good for the Dream, and confusion about what Chicago is doing, which is kind of pretty standard. But man, what a college basketball season. A lot of fun. We've got more women's hoops throughout the summer. That's the great thing about women's hoops. It never really stops. So if you like women's hoops and you like women's hoops coverage, you're going to stay tapped in right here. Subscribe if you haven't already. Head over to brandonsilvers.com. Subscribe to my newsletter where I put out the world's greatest weekly watch guide for all the sporting events that you could ever want. And I've been I'm working on some other stuff too. I've got, if you are in the Low Country area, I will be emceeing a poetry show May 1st at Hobcall Brewing, the light show with Mr. Enlightenment and friends. Go check that out. Thank you for watching, listening, rating, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing. And I will catch you very soon.